Hi everybody, welcome to Child Development 190. We are in week 5. We are also in chapter 5 of our text. So I want to take a few minutes and talk over this PowerPoint that our publisher provides us with. It's also posted, just the PowerPoint, in the week 5 module, so take a look when you have a chance. But I like to use this method to kind of talk through some things, hopefully give you a couple ideas to think about, and of course encourage you to do some reflection this week. So this week we're talking about theories of child development. Likely by this point in your coursework or your career, you know a lot about child development theories, and that's great if you do. If that's the case, just use this time to kind of refresh yourself, to maybe hopefully inspire you to do a little more investigation and learn a little more about theory. I think it's always a good idea to learn more if we can, because it really does impact our work with children and families. So why do we have theories of development? Well, they guide collection and interpretation of information. They explain behavior, gives us a lot of insight for our day-to-day work. They have a broad application and they can be tested. So yes, we have theories that come into play all the time. Sometimes people have their own theory, but the theories that we know about, Maslow, Piaget, Vygotsky, those have been tested over time. Many people have kind of come in and replicated their work, tested their work, challenged their work, so they're pretty secure in the fact that they're widely accepted in our field. Of course, there's always parts of theories that we may not personally agree with, and that's completely fine. I'll tell you personally, I like bits and pieces of particular theories. I think Freud, for example, has some great ideas or concepts, but I'm not sure I agree with basically all of the tenets of his theory. So there's that. We all have our own opinions, and that's great. We don't have to accept all of the theories, every little piece of them. That's just our prerogative. When we talk about theories of development, we look at the different domains. So I know I've talked about this before, kind of the physical growth and motor, social and emotional, cognitive development, and moral development. So those are kind of the domains when we think about theory. Giselle was a cognitive psychologist, so you may or may not have heard about him in maturation theory. It's influenced heavily by contemporary thought. So it's kind of looking at the role of environmental factors when describing the growth and development data. So if you don't know a lot about Giselle, I encourage you just to kind of do a quick search online. There's some good videos on YouTube as well. I'll share some this week as well in the announcements, so you can look for those. But even just a basic search will help give you some information. We all know Erikson. We've talked about Erikson before already in this course. If you took the introductory course to child development, you heard of Erikson as well. So thinking of Erikson's theory and kind of looking at the stages. So do some refreshing if you need to, but definitely something that you'll want to look at. Also, for the purposes of your quiz, you'll want to know a little bit about theory. Don't try to memorize everything, but kind of some basic ideas will help you this week as well. So using social emotional theories, so expect to see children forming friendships and growing in confidence. So if you think about the school age, this is when we see friendships happening. This is where a little drama can come into play as well. But negotiating interpersonal relationships with not only peers, but teachers and parents is sometimes the place that we can support school age children. So scaffolding as they learn to develop their own rules. And school age time frame, this is when we kind of let them set their own rules, set some boundaries, and then hopefully learn to grow some responsibility, etc. When we think about cognitive development, of course, we think of Piaget, a constructivist theorist. So thinking about the stages of cognitive development, if you took 180, we talked about this, and I provided some additional supports. So if you do even just a quick Google search on this, you'll be able to pull the stages up. with the basic timelines or the age ranges for those. Vygotsky, of course, one of my personal favorites. As you all know, I'm sure you can tell by now, Vygotsky is one of my favorites, along with Piaget. Howard Gardner, who's a newer theorist in some respect. We definitely talk about Gardner a lot more. So take a look at those when you have a chance and get familiar with them, or kind of get some basic ideas of theory. We want to use theory of cognitive development to kind of support children and their families. If you work in a 6-to-6 program, you likely will spend a lot of time with the children, so you want to do things like pay attention to their interests. You create some experiences that help them grasp abstract concepts, scaffold their learning, give them tools to kind of learn and grow and develop. The possibilities are endless, really, but definitely something that we want to do in our role with school-age children. Take some time to look again at Skinner and Bandura. Bandura has, there's a number of videos out there, so there's some pretty famous ones that if you go to YouTube you'll find. So thinking about children learning from modeling only. And then kind of later thinking about what they see, hear, and feel, and making decisions about the behaviors that they adapt to. So very interesting stuff there. If we think about moral development, we're looking at Kohlberg for the majority of it. I think Kohlberg's probably one of the most famous theorists in this respect, so do a little bit of refresh there. And then if we look at ecological systems theory, Bronfenbrenner is definitely probably the father of that, or the king of that, however you want to look at it. So looking at, microsystem, mesosystem, etc., and looking at how all those interactions play a role in influence and the systems that we use to work with children. So I know that was a really quick overview. When you have a chance, you'll want to go through this PowerPoint maybe slide by slide and kind of test your knowledge a little bit. Definitely a great idea to do. Again, don't try to worry about memorizing theory. The theory will be there. You'll eventually learn more about it as you continue on in your career. The more that you can kind of take theory and apply it to your work with children, I think a little more that it gets ingrained in us, and we have a deeper understanding of it. So I know sometimes people want to memorize every little part of theory, and that's great, and you can do that, but I would encourage you maybe just to take it one step at a time and learn as you go. So with that, if you have any questions about the content this week, please let me know. We will have a discussion, of course, in our module this week, so make sure that you are active in that. Don't forget, I always open the discussion the Friday before we start the week, so technically our week starts on Monday, but the Friday before I open up the discussion, so you can join early if you like. You don't have to, of course, but it's there for you. Also, I want to point out too, because a few people have asked me, the discussion initial posts are due on Thursday, but you have until Sunday of that week to do your responses. So you don't have to do everything by Thursday. You just do your initial post by Thursday, and then sometime between Thursday, hopefully, and Sunday at 11:59 p.m. you post your peer responses. So if you have any questions about that, feel free to send me an email and I will get back to you. Other than that, let's have a great week together, everybody. Bye-bye.